First of all, let me say good morning to everyone. I want to thank Dr. Reed and staff for giving me this invitation to come and to share a little bit about who I am, what my journey has been like, and what I intend to do from this point on. I'm a native of Austin, grew up about maybe 2 miles east of this place, and always have been in some aspect, a leader. Have an athletic background, played football at Reagan High School back when Reagan High School was a powerhouse. Was a part of that team and part of that program, and from there I had a chance to go out to Cisco. So I do know where Goldwaith is. We would travel that 183 road going west, sometime leaving Austin at 10 o'clock at night on Sunday night and arriving at Cisco about 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. We didn't want to leave Austin going back to West Texas. And so, but ended up playing there for 2 years. Walked on. I didn't get a scholarship initially, but I walked on and earned a scholarship by the end of the spring. And for 2 years, my schooling was paid for. Got a scholarship to play again at the University of North Texas, and played there back in '85 and '86. And I put all of my eggs in one basket. From a child, I wanted to play professional football. That was my dream, that was my goal. I put everything into that. And so my senior year at North Texas, I made every accolade you could make as a linebacker. That was about 90 pounds ago, when I was playing. I was much thinner, lean and mean back then, but I had a passion for football. And I played one of the toughest positions, which was a middle linebacker. And I played that position, weighing about 215. And, I thank Dr. Napier for giving us the opportunity for making our spiritual journey, writing down our spiritual journey. All these things were happening, and I never knew what God was up to. But that senior year, made every accolade, All-American, Defensive Player of the Year in my conference, which had 3 states involved, first team all-conference, everything that you could make as a football player, put everything into that. And come draft time, I didn't get drafted, and I didn't even get an invitation to walk on or to try out, and that really sent me into a huge depression. And I can understand how athletes can spiral downward when things don't pan out, because every weekend I'm playing in front of 65, 75,000 people, and the rush that you get when you get introduced and you run out on the field and you're in that zone, it was a big letdown. And what that led to was I came back to Austin, and for 7 years I was in the wilderness. I had a mean drug addiction. Crack was my drug of preference. And this was back in 88, 89. So from 86 to, 93, I was strung out. I was so depressed, I couldn't do anything. In November 21st, 1994, I cried out to God, because I was at the point of suicide. And I said, Lord, if you are the God who you say you are, prove it. Prove it. I said, if you can take this craving out of my body and this taste out of my mouth, I'll serve you the rest of my life. And he did. November 21st, 1994 was my last experience with drugs. I never worked a 12-step plan, didn't go to prison, didn't go to jail, didn't do any of that stuff. He took it away just like that. From that point, I recommitted my life back to Christ back in 94. A year later, God was moving me toward the ministry. And I accepted the call back in 1995 and served at the church that I grew up at, Olivet Baptist Church. I served there for 7 years. Went back to school. I took the scenic route also. I enrolled in college in 1983 and graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2000. So it took me 18 years also. So from 95, I began to take on the ministry, the preaching ministry. I was ill-equipped, didn't know anything about the Bible. Somewhere after 2000, I think I heard about ICS. It was the Institute of Christian Studies back down adjacent to the University of Texas. Our pastor recommended that we take some type of Bible courses, and so I chose ICS. And so 2000, I enrolled, and I started taking undergraduate courses. I'll take one at a time, here and there. And by 2002, I had graduated with a bachelor's. Now I began to enter into the MATS program, and we were still at ICS. 2002, I accepted a pastoral position in Odessa, Texas. And I joke with people and said, Odessa's a good, anybody from Odessa? Odessa is a good place to be coming from and not going to. But I took my first position as pastor in Odessa, a little church, about 35 members, and I learned a lot. For a whole year, I didn't move my family out, but for a whole year, I commuted every weekend from Austin to Odessa. Sometimes, most times I would fly. When I missed my flight, I would drive, and leaving here at 6 o'clock in the evening and getting there about 1:30 in the morning, and then having to preach Sunday morning, and then get back on the road and come back. So I did that for a whole year. And my son was a senior in high school. We didn't want to move him out, take him out of school and move him away. So we waited until he graduated, and then our family moved out. And we stayed out there another 14 months, and God led me back toward Austin. Position came available here in Lockhart, and so I went through the process as Baptist people do, and the lot fell on me. And so I pastored here in Lockhart for about almost 8 years, and learned a lot. Didn't have a chance to get back in school, didn't have a chance to come back to, at this time, Austin grad. Served there for 8 years, and position comes available at my home church that I grew up in. My grandfather was a deacon there. My grandmother was, I guess they call them mothers in the church. She was there. My whole family grew up in this church, and so I had a chance to come back home. And part of the, benefit package was continued education. The church allotted certain amounts of funds for continued education, so I took advantage of that, and I enrolled back in this institution. And this school has really been a huge blessing for me, far as preparation, far as study. It teaches me discipline. I get to practice on those. When I learn here, I go back and I practice on the people. I don't use the Greek that Dr. Peterson gives me. But I do have a chance to work out some things right in the midst of the church that I'm learning from here. And I'm just blessed to be a part of this institution. When I came to this institution, it had always been a welcoming, a warm. The professors here are very, very in tune with the students. I get something from each one of them. Dr. Napier is having us doing the spiritual formation. He's having us doing the journey, our spiritual journey. That is important to me, because I never shall forget where I've come from. And I know it was all by the grace of God. I had none of this, what I'm doing now, was ever, my desire. Didn't want to, but I made a promise. Back in '94, if you could do this, then I would do that. And I didn't know that promise would lead me all across Texas. But I stayed faithful to it, because I know where he has brought me from. And, the load that I'm taking this semester is really challenging. You have Dr. Staglin, who's very committed to his course, and you have Dr. That's an understatement. You have Dr. Reed, who is every Thursday night he pours into us, and I leave there with tears. And Dr. Napier, he's just, it's an out-of-the-box kind of class, and it challenged us to think differently. And so all this is a part of I guess, my journey. I will always be grateful for this institution, because as I come into this institution, they don't look at me as a denomination. They look at me as a servant, you know, and I look at them, or look at us, as a place to where I can be equipped, that I may be able to equip others. But, you know, all this is something that I've never planned, I never dreamed of in a million years, but, you know, God knows different. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this. That's basically all I have to say, other than didn't give you my family history. I have 3 children. My oldest son is 28 years old. My middle son is 22, and my daughter is 20. And about maybe 10 years ago, my wife and I decided that we would like to become foster parents. And so we got licensed as foster parents, and we did it for at least 5 years. And I didn't know that she had an interior motive with this. So what happened is that we ended up adopting 2 more children out of foster care. And so at almost 50, a wink from 50, going back to have to be with a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old, God is working on me. And let's say that. And so we're grateful. We're a loving family. We're a blended family, different ethnic groups in our family. It looks pretty much like this room. If you saw my wife, you would think that she was, she's different. But I will always remember what Dr. McNichol taught us back in, I think it was 2001. He said, and then Dr. Reed, he brings it back up maybe a couple of weeks ago. He said traditionalism is the, y'all help me with this. Traditionalism is the dead faith of living men, and tradition is the living faith of dead men. And that definition stuck with me from Odessa to Lockhart back to Austin, because I get a chance to see this in the lab, I guess. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Reed and staff, for giving me this opportunity.